welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're returning. Thank you for listening to my waffle. I wasn't going to originally film this, and then I thought it'd be a good tips and tricks. Do you ever get that time when you're working on lots of different confetti? I'm working on all these colours at the moment, and then you get to the stage where you accidentally put the drills in the wrong bag. So this is where they should have gone, with just these few left over here, and obviously you can see straight away that I've mixed my colours. I did double check the DMC code on GemsFlow, on the GemsFlow app, but as I still had some of these left in my bag, I could see straight away that that's the cocoa colour. Now this is how I usually, if I get mixed up drills, this is how I do it. I have a daylight lamp. If I switch that off a moment, you'll see the difference. So I've got daylight coming in from my back patio doors, but when I'm diamond painting, I do use my daytime lamp. And if you see the difference, so this is natural light, and again these two are quite contrasting in colour, but if you see, let's get a couple that are very similar. So if you get some like these, for example, that's a much better example. Look, you can see straight away. Now, although they're two different colours, 452 and 3861, if you look at them in daylight, or poor light should I say, it's very difficult to distinguish between the two. You can see they're almost identical in colour. However, if I switch on my daylight lamp, and there you go, they're still quite close in colour, but you can see now that one is lighter. Let me see if I can get that. One is lighter, slightly lighter than the other. You can just see there, it's just that slight difference. So you will find some colours are darker, like the dark green. It's 3365 or something like, no, 3365 is white. But there's 939, which is a very dark blue. There you go. If I tilt that slightly, you can see the difference in colours now. If you're doing, as I said, if you're working on confetti, it doesn't really matter, to be fair, if it's a confetti based section that you're working on. It's not overly drastic, other than the fact that you might run short of a colour in the drills, but it will blend in. As you can see, it's only a subtle difference in those two colours, but they will give you accents on your diamond paintings. Whereas, as I said, this one I've blatantly mixed. You can so see the difference, and I just wanted to quickly film to show what I do, what I personally do, if I've made that mistake. So as I said, I've double checked these DMC numbers. This is called Cocoa. This is called, what should be in this bag, is called Shell Pink. 3722 is Shell Pink. 3860 is called Cocoa. As I said, because I've got some left in the bag, it's blatantly obvious. But if you're not sure, as I said, you can look up the DMC. The DMC is a nationwide thing, so you can look up the DMC colour codes there. So, what I do is I get two trays. These trays are identical. Well, they're the Diamond Art Club ones, but any trays. And then I empty the whole bag out. I'm working from baggies on this kit because I couldn't be bothered to kit down, and a lot of my storage has been taken up. I need to kit down some of my kits that I finished now. But what I do when I'm working for baggies, especially if I'm working from baggies, as I say, from confetti, as well as the sticker that you get from DAC, Diamond Art Club, I also, when I empty the bag, the bag that they come in, I cut the number off the bag and put it inside just in case, for whatever reason, that sticker comes loose. So there's a tip in itself. If you're going to use baggies, even sometimes I do it with my containers, especially if I've got multiple containers with one colour. I tend to clip off the number from the Diamond Art Club bag and place it in the bag. So just in case this sticker comes off for any reason, they're fairly well stuck, but they do lift and sometimes come loose, especially if they're mixed up like this. But as I said, because I've mixed these up, I thought it was ideal to make a video. Now, as I said, these are two quite distinct colours, so it's quite easy to see the difference. But what I do is I get two trays. I have an empty tray and I have the tray that I've mixed the colours. What I do is shake it as though I'm getting ready to do a diamond painting. And here you can see I've now got two colours, blatantly different colours. Now, there's two ways of doing this, and it depends what section I'm actually working on, but I'm going to a lighter colour now, so these colours are going to be insignificant, so I'm going to bag them back up. But if I was working still on this section that incorporated these two colours, then I would actually work directly from this tray, purely for the fact that it's so easy to see what they are, and I would just work from the tray. But as I'm going to pack it down now for the other colours, like I say, I'm going to use some of the lighter colours now. I think these are my next, as you can see, completely contrast. So I don't want them getting mixed up as well. So what I tend to do is, as I said, I shake it out. Now I might cover a little bit of what I'm doing here. But for example, let me see if I can zoom you in here. So for example, in this row here, let's get the pen that's actually got a nib on it. So in this row specifically here, I've got one shell pink, then I've got a row of cocoa, one shell pink, and then a cocoa. In the row above, I've got a set of 3 cocoa there and 3 cocoa. So what I would do is just nudge those forward. If they get stuck to the pen, no big deal. Let me put you back out a little bit. So if you get stuck to the pen, that's no big deal. You can just literally take it off your pen. But what I tend to do is I use my multi-placer and I will pick up, for example, those in the row there and just drop them back into what's now going to be my cocoa tray. And just to make sure I don't mix them up again, I'm going to have my cocoa bag there to remind me this is going to be my shell pink tray. Now again, there's only one stopping this row here of being brown, so I'm going to move those out the way. You could in effect get a third tray, but as I said, because these are really distinguishable in colour, then I'm only using the 2 trays. But as you can see now, I've now got a nice row of cocoa brown again. So all I do is get my multi-placer, I scoop all those up together and tip them into the second tray. And that is what I do the whole way through. If I start to get scant on any one part of them, I will give them another shuffle. So again, we've got here, look, we've got one red, so we'll move that up and out the way. And then I've got a nice row of cocoa, some more red, we'll get those out the way, get the cocoa, and there we go. So again, pick them up with my multi-placer. It just means that you can pick up quite a few. See there again, I can fill my multi-placer up rather than having to do them one by one with tweezers. I can pick them up, and I will just work on these, as I said, just like I'm working on a diamond painting. I will work on these with my multi-placer until I've got my colours correct. Every now and again, if it gets to the stage, for example, here, where I've got some more shell pink than the cocoa, for example, then what you can do is get a third tray. And so I could either put these straight into the bag or get my third tray and exactly the same again. Pick them all up with my multi-placer. And then all I've then got to do when I'm finished, obviously I've still got to work through the tray, but I just wanted to film this as a tips and tricks. So then when you're finished, you empty all your now coloured drills. The advantage to doing it in separate trays as well, like this, rather than just straight into your bags, is if they are quite closely coloured and you're not quite sure, if you have a third tray and decant them all into the third, as you go, you could decant them into a third tray. So you get your, in effect, your working tray, your second tray, and then your third tray. That means that if they are slightly different in colour again, they will show up again in the daylight. Let me put you here. So they will show up significantly different in a daylight lamp, or natural daylight. They will show up significantly different against each other under a lamp. So if you're really not sure, once they're together, you can say, oh, I can actually see now that there is a difference in that one. So you can pick out your odd one if you've managed to mix them up. But as I said, if you're doing a confetti painting, it really is insignificant, to be honest. It becomes insignificant because, as I said, they're accent colours. So if they really are that close together, you're not really going to see it on the whole, because they were mixing together. So there you go. Tips and tricks on how me personally, how I decant my drills when I've mixed them up. I will continue to do this before I move on to my next colour, and then I know that we're straight again. But as I said, separate the colours. So I shake my drill tray as though I'm using the drills, drop them back so you get the channels, and where I've got most, like this row here, for example, use my pen, this row here, for example, I've got one red, one brown, one red, then two brown, one red, three brown, another three brown, another three brown. So what I will do is take those red ones out. So take those out with my pen. Let's get rid of those odds that are all around there. So all I'm left with is my browns. Let's take these out. So I've taken a few rows out of these now, so that what I can do is I can just go straight away. These are brown. These are now all brown. And these, this one, and let's see if I can squeeze a couple more in there. And there we go. So it might take 10, 20, it could take longer minutes, depending on how mixed up the colours are, or as I said, how close identified they are. But as I said, you can see now that I'm starting to get much more red in this tray, and I'm starting to accumulate my brown drills again in my separate tray. So as I said, I went to start putting them away as I would normally, and then I thought it was a great time to take a video, quick video, just to show you how I sort my drills when I've made the mistake of putting them in the same bag. So I hope that helps anyone in the same predicament. But thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and comment if you've got anything, any tips and tricks that you'd like to see. And I'll see you on my next video. Thanks very much. Bye for now. Bye-bye.